movie stars are real people that are part of the crew, most of them. And I've been telling stories for years, and so I decided to write a book. It's taken me about 8 years to write it. All right. However, what's that?
Spacebar.
What?
What are you doing? You want to go to the next? The arrows. There you go.
Sorry. Okay. First movie I worked on was in 1981. That was our entire crew. And then here's us 40-some years later. We're still friends. That's Eric, Richie, that's me. Eric went on to become a big-time director of photography. He did Knocked Up, Couples Retreat, all sorts of big, huge movies. Richie kind of ended up working for me when I became a director. And then I had a crush on the lead actress, and that's me being creepy. But I got the bug. I mean, I worked on the film, and it's like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. We shot it with all nights. It was a horrible horror movie. Speaking of banned movies, it got banned in Great Britain because it was so graphic. So I was hooked. I was hooked. Did I do the wrong thing?
Yeah, wrong arrows. Down below.
Okay.
It says after college.
Yeah.
After college?
Yeah. So after college, I tried to stay in Portland, Oregon. That's where I was from. Did a dance video. We did some videos for this big PR firm in New York. And this film was about a thing they were going to do called drug testing in your urine. This was in 1983. And we were like, this will never work. No athlete's ever going to pee in a bottle. And obviously it became our whole life of drug testing, and we did the very first video about it. But then we all decided to move to Hollywood. A bunch of us, Richie, Harry, Eric, to try to make our fame and fortune. Okay, which arrow?
Down below.
No? It's not that.
Hey, just use the space bar.
All right.
There you go.
Sorry about that. Okay, so then, as I was couch surfing, I went to a party, met somebody that went to the same school I was. He was kind of really famous at the time. He was a production designer, which is people that are in charge of the art department. As he said, we build the skyline for the actors to act in front of it. And so he got a movie at close range with Sean Penn, Christopher Walken. Very, very dark story. True story about a dad that took his sons in this thief ring, but then his sons got busted, so he killed one of the sons and tried to kill the other one, and he lived. And it's a true story. But my big thing was, this used to be soybeans, and we needed it to be, for the movie, the director and production designer wanted it to be corn. So I was in charge of growing the corn. And it didn't rain. So, and this is before Google and all that, so I'm not calling farmers. I'm going like, what do? You can go through and you can get a giant machine that'll take out every 7th row, but you can water it. But then we got lucky and started to rain, and that was the end of the corn. And we took one of the stops to the set with the director and producer, and that was my first victory in Hollywood, my corn. And then there's a local hire in the locations department, and I think we're on year 37 we've been married. So I met my wife on the show, which is kind of the thing. But it was a really close-knit group. It was like we worked 6 days a week. And on Saturday nights we were in Nashville. We shot it all in Nashville, and we all went out. And it was just everybody got along really well. Except for Sean, he beat the producer up on the first day, but that's another story in the book. Okay. From that one, I went to a horrible experience. It was American Anthem. Mitch Gaylord won a gold medal. They were trying to make him a movie star. And just everybody hated everybody, but we did have one fun. Lita came to visit. We went to Flintstone Land. But we had to do, he was a motorcycle rider, and we had to do a motorcycle shop. So we needed, as a set dresser, you just basically a mover, but you also had to be a little bit creative. And so we ran into this gang that owned a motorcycle shop. That's Thumper. That's Chris, our decorator. And so what we did is we rented this whole shop out and then returned it so we could sell it again. So Thumper liked us a lot. and we became kind of honorary members of this motorcycle gang. I finally asked him why they called him Thumper. He said that they were having a fight, and he was taking the guy's head and was beating it against the curb, and it was thumping. So he didn't want to mess with Thumper. Okay. From there, I went to the world's biggest movie at the time. It was Howard the Duck, and I was a production assistant in the art department. This is me with Howard it's sort of Duck World, where he starts out and then he gets sucked into the earth. But we wanted to show him in Duck World doing different things, and this was when he was a hippie, and that's a field of plastic marijuana that I had gotten. And that was the funnest thing to do, was to do Duck World, because I was in charge of like the motorcycles, but it had to fit the ducks. And then they did the Marlboro duck as a commercial. And so I had to find the right horse that would fit the duck, that would look real. So a lot of fun. Robin Williams was going to be the voice of Howard, but he wanted to change the script and they didn't want him to, and it was different with the animatronics and stuff. But he went to our Christmas party and he was standing there by himself, and my wife's like, let's go talk to him. I'm like, well, I'm just a production assistant, we just can't go up and talk to Robin Williams. And so he ended up leaving, and then I saw his documentary, and he said, my favorite thing is when people would come up and talk to me. And she still bugs me about that today. And then this is me on Sunset Boulevard. This is the big poster. This was going to change my career, because this was going to be the biggest movie of all time. The president of Universal Studios, the green light, got fired. The movie was the biggest bomb in Hollywood, but I got a t-shirt out of it. So now I'm kind of working my way up. All right. This was the place where my wife worked. She got a job at Atlantic Entertainment. But the genius thing they did was they did a movie called Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox. But Michael J. Fox, the next movie was Back to the Future. So what they did is they held the movie and released it after Back to the Future as his follow-up movie. And they made millions and millions of dollars and became very rich. And then they lost it all. But she got me a job on Cop. And here's our crew, our basic crew. We were looking at set dressers. That's my friend Monty. You'll see a lot. He had never done it before, never been a gang boss. That's his cousin Geoff, Jeff, who had never ever worked in a movie before. And there's me. I was a dresser and I drove the 5-ton truck. I never drove a truck before. So there was a tree knocked down on Sunset Boulevard by me. And there's some other incidents with the truck that you'll learn about if you want to read my book. But somehow we survived, barely. Okay, then I became a prop master. And a prop master is in charge of anything that an actor touches, eats, drinks, and it's shoots, big on guns. So I did the movie Sonny Boy, where David Carradine plays a cross-dresser, and he's married to Slew, who was like the small town gang boss. Cheswick, I don't remember Cheswick from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Remember him, Cheswick? Oh, yeah. He was in the movie. I wish I would have saved it when he came back. He left me like a 10-minute voicemail about how we'd gone to a party and hadn't invited him. And he sounded just like Cheswick. It was very fun. But this is just how you can influence a movie. I was at a store shopping for something. I saw these crazy masks. And I took him to the director, and they were having a party. It was Sonny Boy's 12th party, and they were cutting off his tongue. That was a big thing. But I thought, those look bizarre. And so they ended up using them, and they do look bizarre. This was our last day of shooting that I was involved with. 55-mile-an-hour winds. Half the crew, well, about 2/3 of the crew were Italians. And then we had some Americans. We all got paid in cash. It was a total kind of mafia thing. But the last day had a lot of effects, and the Italians would blow something up, and the Americans would yell at them, and then the Americans would yell at them, and then they would yell at Italians, would yell at them. And then in the desert, I don't know if you know, but when the desert's really windy, there's a spore that can go around that can kill you. Like 9 people every year die of this spore. So that's why we're all masked up. And that's a shotgun we bought in the back of a bar, which was kind of stupid at the time, but we were young. Okay, then I always thought I was better than working at Roger Corman Studios, but I literally dropped my resume off. I rode a motorcycle, rode back, and they'd already called me. They wanted me to start on a movie, Saturday the 14th Strikes Back. Again, I was a prop master, very low budget. This is what I thought were one of my favorite things is I needed to feed hamburgers to everybody, like 40 people. We had no budget. So I went to the store and bought oatmeal cookies and put them in buns. And it looked like a hamburger, right? Those are oatmeal cookies. And then they liked me at Corman, so I did the movie Dance of the Damned. Everybody, the director, she hated everybody hated her. And I'm coming out of my prop room, going into the set, and the director of photography, Ben Carmichael, who's been nominated for 2 Academy Awards now, he's coming out, he goes, "Are you with us?" I go, "What do you mean, are you with us?" He's going, "We're walking on." She said that the director said that she could get a student crew in here better than us. So I said, "Fine, do it." So we walk out to the parking lot, and we liked the producer, and he came out, and his thing was we all got $100 if we came back the next day in cash. That was our goal. But in the movie Sunny Boy, I became friends with David. Actually went up to his house to get one of the props. That was interesting. He lives in Marlon Brando's old house. And then it was like, that's back when he drank a lot. So he would take 2 shots of this concoction to get him going in the morning. And he always called me Chucky. "Chucky, you want to hit?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good, David." And we go out to the pool. It's his wife and her friend swimming topless. "Chucky, you want to swim with the girls?" "No, David, got here to work." But then he went back and he had an editing facility, and he directed 2 movies, which he bought back from the studios because he didn't like them. So I sat with Dave for a couple hours as he showed me all these crazy movies. But he liked to hang out in my prop room. And then one scene, and he had dentures, and so he had big gloves. And one scene, he goes, he can't find his teeth. So now it's a total panic. David can't find his teeth, so he tore up my prop room. And then he goes, "Screw it, I'll just do it without teeth." He goes in, and he puts his hand down in his glove, and there his teeth are. So, I mean, the book is just about like these kind of crazy stories that happen to me. And then I went on to the movie Weekend at Bernie's. That's our 2 stars and Ted, the director. The movie before, Ted had fired, out of 107 people, he fired 103 people. Our movie only fired 50. But the one person who did fire on the movie before was, the prop master I went with got fired right away. And so they brought in Vic Petrada, who dad was like the prop master on Leave It to Beaver, his brother's a big time prop master. And he became my Uncle Vic, and he changed my whole career. He was the best. Brilliant, genius, great. Smoked 3 packs of non-filters a day, and drank like a fish. a lot of stories. But one scene that was kind of funny is there's the couple, Jonathan and he's with this girl named Gwen. They're gonna make out on the beach, but Bernie he comes up in the surf while they're trying to make out. And so how did we do that? Well, we got a giant, like, what is it called, pizza peel kind of thing, and we put him on the end of it, and then all of us, there's 4 of us in the surf, and we would push him in to the scene. But the waves were really strong. It reminded me of like a 30s movie, like a screwball comedy, because the wave was really big. All 4 of us would wash up into the scene. And so, and there was some shenanigans with the production manager. He wouldn't give us shoes, and so he decided he was going to do it, and some people took that out on him. This is Ministry of Vengeance, another movie. But these guys were geniuses that were the direct producers. It's like, here's Ned Beatty, George Kennedy, Apollonia, and Yaphet Kotto, who'd been nominated for Academy Award the year before. One day, they would work one day. And so they could put them on the poster. So when you think about the movie, I mean, they only shoot like 7 scenes, but they would work one day. It's like, what do you think it cost for George Kennedy to get out of bed for one day? We figured 10 grand maybe. But he was funny. He rolls up in his giant Mercedes, and they had this little tiny dressing room for him. And I had to talk to him because there was a prop master. You could go through all the props, and so he was playing the priest. And I'd gone through all this stuff. Which the priest thing was interesting because I always thought like I had to have wafers there and stuff. I thought you had to buy it from Jerusalem or something, and it was just this giant warehouse of church stuff that I got it from. It was like the Walmart of church things. But John was a really good guy. We had tons of guns. We had one incident where we were shooting inside, but we were in a really, really bad neighborhood, like gangland. And the director wanted a piece of wire to burn. The one guy was getting tortured, and I saw it outside the house. So I go outside the house, and I hear this, and it was bullets going over my head into the house, and they were having a gang war. And people were yelling at me to get down, so now I'm crawling for my life. And then I had 40 assault weapons on the truck. We had a safe, but they would show me their guns and all that. So I went to the producers. I'm like, I need a cop. And he goes, we don't need a cop. We're not shooting outside. I go, I need a cop. He goes, no. I said, okay, then I'm going to take all the guns back to the rental house and you can get somebody else. He called me names and stuff, and then we got a cop, and of course nothing happened. And he goes, oh, see, at the end he goes, see, nothing happened. I go, yeah, because we had a cop. And then this, I wore an Oregon thing, and this guy came up. He was my first assistant instructor. He goes, well, where'd you go to high school? In Oregon? And I go, yeah, I went to a little high school. And he goes, yeah, so did I. So we ended up going to high school together. But he was a little bit older. And then I ended up moving in his neighborhood, and then we were like neighbors and friends for life. Just meeting off a movie. So I thought that was kind of cool. All right. So another dead body movie. I was a prop master. I think here's a dead body. I think I probably got the job because I'd done Weekend at Bernie's, so I was very familiar with dead bodies. And then here's another aspect. I said that anything they eat that we were in charge of. And so Rhea Perlin, she played the role of the secretary at the cop station, and she ate the whole time, but she was a vegetarian. So they had me call her house. And so I'm thinking, oh, is Danny DeVito going to answer or whatever? But she's really sweet. She just wanted to make sure that everything was vegetarian that she ate. But that's the kind of things that as a prop master you do. And then this is Cowboy Tom. As a prop master, you're also in charge of the animals, but you get a wrangler. And Cowboy Tom didn't have a phone, but I have to call his neighbor, and then she would go over to his ranch, because one time the director requested baby pigs in the back of a pickup truck by 3 o'clock. So I called the neighbor, and she went over, and all of a sudden at 3 o'clock, Cowboy Tom shows up with a bunch of baby pigs. So, but we had one scene where, and he'd been bitten by a rattlesnake right before this, but there's a scene where they go into a small shop, but they wanted rattlesnakes in cages on each side. And so they were really loud. And so the sound person came up and talked to the director and said, we got no usable audio because of these rattlesnakes. And so the director comes over and goes, can you quiet the rattlesnakes? And I'm like, what do you mean quiet the rattlesnakes? So I went to Cowboy Tom. I go, Cowboy Tom, can you quiet the rattlesnakes? He goes, you got a squirt bottle with water? I go, yeah. He squirts the tails, it makes them soft and they don't rattle anymore. Cowboy Tom saves the day. So, and one of the things that when I interviewed him, he goes, you know what, how long it takes for a cowboy to make a beer cold? 7 minutes. I thought, wow, we should have him on our crew. And then my big break, here's Peter again that got me on to the close range. There's Uncle Vic again. So it's all about relationships in the movies, you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And here's me with Robo. We were on location for 7 months. I was in the same hotel room, 1810, in Houston, Texas. And then we went back to LA and shot for another 6 weeks. We went union then, and so I got my card, which is huge. That opened up a whole new world for me because I couldn't work on union films. And now I can. And that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. So that was because now I have insurance, you know, I'm guaranteed, there's a certain amount you're guaranteed per hour, and then you have retirement, and then and you have a fund. We didn't get residuals, but we had a fund that producers had to pay into that I got when I turned 65. So I come back, I've been working for 8.5 months, I usually take a break, and I get a call from this film core store, and they just fired the prop master, and can I start tomorrow? And I was when my wife was pregnant. I said, well, we're going to the Moss class, we're doing all this stuff. And she goes, no, we'll work around it. And so it was with Mark Harmon and Mimi Rogers. And Mark was so nice, he was like the nicest person you've ever met, that Mimi got jealous and tried to out-nice him. She invited the whole crew up to her Brentwood home. She just got divorced from Tom Cruise to have a ping pong tournament because she wanted to out-nice Mark. And then there was a scene that at an autopsy, and so they asked me, they said, can you bring in an expert? And so again, there's no Google or anything, so you just have to call around to different prop masters, and they said, well, there's a guy in the LA examiner's office that's great. And so he came out, and the thing that makes you nervous about like experts is they can tell the director anything and you might not have it on your truck. But the guy that I use would actually physically come out to the truck and goes, hey, the way we measure wounds is with a plastic ruler that has to bend. Do you have one? And I go, yeah. And so we run out to the thing, and he would tell the director what we needed, and then they call the truck, and he'd make me the hero. So that was really cool. He was a great guy. But all of a sudden they wanted a body bag. He goes, we don't do body bags in LA. There's too many dead people. So we just use a sheet. I got one in my trunk. The sheet had definitely been around. It was, yeah. It had a lot of stains and stuff on it. Even though it was clean, it was like, it'd seen some action. And then we ended up using him again in Thelma and Louise. He was great. But trying to do the book and just doing different aspects, it's like learning about different things as you work. It's like, then I got to learn what a coroner did. Of course, we asked him about a lot of stuff, It's like all the movie stars and how they died, and didn't get to see the bodies and all that. So, and then here's Thelma and Louise, which obviously was probably the film that had the most impact and still around today. Ridley Scott directed it, who my favorite director, but he ruled with an iron fist. And the only reason that we shot the Polaroid, but he wanted to develop it as we shot it. Somebody'd run it over to him, and then he would film it getting developed. And we got a bunch of good ones. And then Gene and Susan talked. This is the hair person, and this is me. And so we shot us, and then we're over, and somebody ran over, and Ridley's like rolling on, and here come us. So it was like, there's no way we would have done that without Gene and Susan doing it, because Ridley would have got us. And here's the prop crew: Uncle Vic, Monty, me. That's Uncle Vic's son. Here's the car, and how they did it is they had a dragster down here. It was hooked up on a pulley system, and the dragster went this way to pull the car. And it was one take. And they had several cars, but they only had to use one, and it flew off the cliff. But that's like in a Corman movie, you might be 10, 12, 14 pages a day. This is called 1/8 of a day. You shoot one shot all day. And all we did was we did some props in the front and did some dust and stuff. But there's a lot of crazy stories. We had all these cop cars, but we were at a state park, and they had to drive them off the state park back to the base every time. And so we didn't have enough Teamsters, so they needed the crew to do it. And of course, they said, don't turn the headlights on, because they were cop cars, fake, but don't turn the lights on, and okay. And so I'm driving along, and Bush here drives past me like 100 with his lights on. So I go, I got to do this. Also, now I'm going like 100, 120, go past Monty, and now he's doing 100. And then we get to town, I look in the mirror, and the real sheriff's right on my butt. So we go in, and he follows us all the way to the thing, and we just get out of the car, and we're just like, we're just stupid idiots, and we know it. And he goes, yes, you are, but I'm not going to arrest you because you just did it to each other. If you would have done that to a citizen car, you would all be going to jail right now. So this stupid things that you do on vacation. Okay, so I get in the union, and my wife, one of her best friends, works for the vice president of production, which is huge. And so she goes, I'm going to get Chuck an interview. I go, I don't have the credits to meet with the vice president of production at Paramount Pictures. No, he's a great guy. You got to meet with him. So I go in to the meeting. I go, do you know why I'm here? And he goes, no, I don't know why. And he goes, your assistant, my wife, her best friend, she's doing my wife a favor. I do not have the credits to be here. So he goes, get your stuff. We go down to this golf cart. We go to the art department with the head of the property. And he introduces me as one of his best friends. I've known the guy 15 minutes. And now they have to hire me because I'm the best friend of the vice president of production. So they hired me on Sons and Daughters, Lucy Arnaz. But Bill Bixby, you remember Bill?
Yeah.
He directed a bunch of episodes, and he started this tradition, an hour-long TV show. It's done in 7 days. At the end of the 7th day, he would bring in, like, they can't do this anymore because of, well, legal reasons, but he would bring in, like, top shelf booze, the best food, and he'd throw a party for us for working with him on 7 days. He was one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Oh, and Lucy Arnaz, back, how do you move back, though? I don't know. But this was a quick story about Lucy Arnaz, obviously Lucille Ball's daughter. She was a coupon. When she wasn't in a scene, she would sit there and cut coupons. The only reason I could figure it out is does it make her feel normal? Having such a crazy life that this is normal, I can use a coupon? I don't know. Sweetheart, though. And then back on a big union film, Set Dresser, which is just a glorified mover that we make a lot of money moving furniture. That's our crew. The sets were beautiful. This guy, Stuart Wurtzel, was a production designer, super classy guy. He rented a French restaurant, invited all the art department to go with their spouses or significant with others. And then just really good guy, and Michael Ballhaus, who shot like tons of big, huge movies. He was an EP, and we had these fiberglass lights. It's supposed to be Central Park, and we were putting him to camera so he could see him and move him. And he shot Goodfellas as one of his big movies. But every time he would say, "Okay, I want them here and here," you could carry him by, one person could carry him and you'd set him down, and then he'd walk up and thank you every time. And it's just like, what a classy guy, It's just like really classy guy. So that was. And then we dressed one set where it was backstage, and it was all showgirl costumes. So we all put on the showgirl hats and stuff, and we dressed the set, and the set decorator came up. And she had 2 rules of her crew. You either had to be gay or funny. That day we were both. Then I got a call from Paramount, and they said, "Have you worked this week?" And I said, "No." And because you could make more on unemployment than you could working one day. And I said, "No, what's the show?" And they said, "It's a day on Cheers." Oh, you got to take it, you got to go to Cheers. So I did 1 day on Cheers, it turned into 3 weeks, it turned into 6 years of work. Cecil B. DeMille had a really good friend that was a prop master, and he hated seeing him get laid off after a movie. So they created this job called the supervising prop master. And I ended up being the supervising prop master. And I would get tours. This is Ali Lauder. She won the Miss USA, the most thorough tour I ever did. But yeah, lots of stories about Paramount and working on the lot. It's kind of like a prison situation where the longer you've been there, the more, cachet you have. And, but it was quite interesting, seeing Harrison Ford ride his bike by you, and Demi Moore and people like that. It was all right, so after Paramount, I'd been there 6 years. I decided we needed a change. We moved to Florida just to mix things up, but I still needed my 3 years to get my 10 years being invested. And so a guy that I helped called Todd Elf was a prop master, and I helped him get his days when I was at Paramount to become eligible for health care. And so he repaid me back. I was 5 weeks on A Night at Roxbury, and it was, Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan. When this was a tough show because we worked Monday, Tuesday days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights. So you wake up at 6 a.m. on Wednesday night, go to work till 6 p.m. And Thursday, everybody hated everybody because you're so cranky. And then, they had the wardrobe for the extras, women's wardrobe. So Chris and Will decided they were going to put it on and take pictures with the crew. But Will Ferrell, nicest guy in the world, we were telling stories. We'll play high school football, and we went through all of our jerseys when we were in Pop Warner all the way up to when we played in high school. And my first jersey I ever wore was 51. And so I left the show with a couple weeks left because I didn't need me anymore. And they said, hey, Will left you something. And he left me a gift certificate to Virgin Records for $51. Remembering what my first football number was.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and Amy was our producer, Amy Heckerling. I don't remember Fast Times at Ridgemont High. She directed it, which I think is one of the greatest movies ever. So my sister and I go to, and she was super funny. My sister and I go to the rap party, and we see her, and we get down, no, we're not worthy. And she got all embarrassed and kicked us out, and we get out of here. But very clever, very funny woman. But a book just came out by Chris saying that Lorne Michaels told him that he had to have relations with her during the movie. That seems, I don't know, my book's going through our lawyer, which is also our niece. I said, Chris Kattan can say that about Lorne Michaels? Is anybody really going to care about what I say? No? I don't think so. All right. Again, Todd comes through. I can't remember her name. Sorry about that. Okay. That's Janie Lee, who was super nice, spent no time in her trailer at all. And she was a great storyteller, but she liked to tell, like, one time we were talking about finances, and she goes, I don't know if you know who my dad is, Tony Curtis. Yeah, Janie Lee. And I think Bob Hope started, they started buying property, and her dad had so much property that he lived better. He would sell a piece of property every year, and at the end of his life, he lived better than he ever had because he had so much property and he could sell. But that's Donna, who's stunts. And that's what I tried to do in the book is like, okay, so let's hit upon everything. And so this was a good one to hit upon people that do stunts. So she breaks her leg. And then, but the big stunt's coming up where they're driving 30 miles an hour and Jamie Lee's character jumps out of the van and rolls all the way down the hill. But now Donna's got a broken leg. And so she had one kind of weird cast on, and the director and everybody's trying to figure out how to shoot it without her jumping out of the car, and she just like pulls the brace off and just goes, roll the cameras, I'll do it. She jumps out of the car with a broken leg, rolls like 30 yards down this hill, and walks up without a limp or anything and goes, did we get the shot? I mean, it's just like that. She's tough. But she was the one that hangs from the helicopter, and that's her. But super cool, really nice person. And then I saw, I don't know if you guys know LL Cool J. At the time, he had the #1 song, Mama Gonna Knock You Out. And he was on a sitcom. And I saw him on the call sheet the next day, and I go, oh, this is going to be like, he's going to show up with an entourage. He's going to show, he shows up by himself. Again, with top people, you go up and talk, and here's what our stuff is. And we go, LL Cool, and he goes, just call me Todd. And he turned out to be the nicest guy. But when I show the picture, I like to say LL Cool J, I don't like to say Todd. But, and then one of the characters gets killed by a skate. And so they had done the rig so the actor could just lay underneath it, but the director of photography thought it was kind of fun, and so he got out the Polaroid, and all the crew went through and got their head cut by a skate, so that's me with a skate through my head. So, okay, then get down. Wind on Water was now my friend Monty got this job. It was in Hawaii. It was Front Peaks in Dawson Creek and Beverly Hills, but if you read the first, script and you read the seventh script, nothing changed. And the movie never changed. There were these two surfers that both Derek's sons and her husband had died, so they have to win the surf tournament to keep her house away from the guy that wants to build a hotel there. It was the same every show. And so I got to be really good friends with the producers, played a lot of golf, and I said, are we safe for 13 weeks? And I'll be taken to December. And they go, yeah, so my family's going to fly out and we're going to homeschool. My wife's going to homeschool and they're going to live on the island. And then he walks past me on a Monday. He doesn't say anything to me. I'm like, that's not a good sign. And the president of NBC had got fired. And the first thing the new president did was get rid of our show. So we had to get off the island in 8. We had 5 days to get off the island. But this was our prop crew. I mean, it was pretty amazing, you know, to shoot in Hawaii. But the story started out as the Big Island, you can ski in the morning and surf in the afternoon because it's diverse climates. And so, but the show, they aired 2 episodes. It's me and Bo Derek. She's really paying attention to me, isn't she? All right. So then Uncle Vic gets another show, and it's going to be a pilot. And if it goes, then he'll be the prop master, and I'll be the on-set prop master. It was about the ATF. It was about the big. What was that in? Where was it? Draw blank. When the guy holed up, and then they had the shoot. They had a big shootout. And
Ruby Ridge.
What?
Ruby Ridge.
No.
Wake up.
Waco. Yeah. And then, so it was like it was trying to figure that out. But it was Amy Brennan was a star. That's Kathy Baker. She was really cool. But one night, Amy, they sent the actors home, and Amy had her close-up, and they wanted somebody to read against her. And they volunteered me. And it's like, man, acting's really hard. I was like, and I didn't think I was very good, but she was very gracious and thanked me for, playing the scene. And then our director was Darren Sarafian, and this is Daryl Brasal, and he was just a normal guy. There was a beat between the Teamsters and the electricians and stuff, and the grips, and his friend was a grip, and he shut the whole thing down and said, I'm not going to shoot another scene until this gets worked out, and called the studio. But he was great for the bank account, because if you dolly one way, you dolly the other way. She overshot everything, which was great for us, because we made a lot of money. But the show did not get picked up, but it did become a made-for-TV movie. So it did air. Okay, last thing. Assistant prop master on Deep Space Nine, did the last 10 episodes. Did anybody see Dirty Harry? Movie Dirty Harry? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Remember the bad guy that kills it, and they have the big scene at the end within the stadium? Well, that's him. Andrew Robbins, super nice guy, but they were in this makeup, and we would shoot sometimes 18 hours, and different people reacted in different ways about having makeup on for that long. And he was like a song and dance man, so he'd go into the song and dance with his full makeup on. And then the other cast member was joining him. And that's Louise Fletcher that won the Academy Award for Nurse Ratched. Remember her? She was so nice, but I had to do a cue card for her because she spoke in gibberish. And then she's like, oh dear, what dear? And I'm like, I don't know what. She goes, you're holding the cue card upside down. Oh shit. And then it was the last season, so they did a big magazine, and they got my name, and George switched up. So to all the Trekkies, I'm now George. I'm not Chuck. And then just a few different people. Uncle Vic passed away, Monty passed away, Peter passed away, Chris passed away, and those are just all the movies I worked on with. And so now we'll get into, I did a movie called I had an idea, Fill the Faith, with this guy, it's the same name as me, which is a weird coincidence. Chuck Roseberry played college football when he was 45. He had 300 media outlets. I got to know him, and I made what's called a proof of concept video. And I was taking a writing class, and my writing professor knew people, and all of a sudden it got sold to Dick Cook, who was the biggest movie executive box office in the history of the movie business, but he started his own studio. We got option money for 4.5 years, but never made it. But we saw that project, here's just some ideas, how to get your book or idea turned into a movie, get an agent, write a script using Final Draft software, which is really good software. Get an agent. Make a proof of concept video, which I did for that. Get an agent. There's a thing called the blacklist, where even if you don't have an agent, I think you pay a fee, and if you get an 8 or above, you can get in. They grade you 1 to 10. And then also too, it's a movies that don't get made. A lot of them actually get made. The last one was The Gorge that's on right now. Get an agent. Use the connection. No, I'm not one anymore. Get an agent and then get lucky. I'll go through this real quick. Okay, how to get? I did work on a project recently that got made. This guy is a famous photographer, has a fro. He's a bowler, likes to bowl. This guy had a fro. They said, so he followed him in, and then he went to Blue Pixel because they both had worked for Sony, and said, I think we have a show here about the PPA tour. So they, for some reason, I had worked with them for 15 years. They called me and said, can you go next week and do the PPA tour? And that's the number one bowler in the world. That's Kyle, and that's there. So then all of a sudden, they figure out that they aren't big enough to sell the show. So in a weird coincidence, they get Mandalay Pictures, which made The Last Dance, which is probably one of the most famous sports documentaries ever. And then somehow A24 comes involved, who they won 8 Emmys for Beef, and they want the Oscars. They're like the biggest company right now. But they wanted a celebrity, and so Jimmy Kimmel came aboard, and they sent me some notes that Jimmy wanted. I did a proof of concept video, so they sent me some notes, and he wanted too big of a pie, so Jimmy's out. And then A24 had a deal with HBO Max, and so they sold to HBO Max. Ben Stiller came on as the executive producer, and I couldn't figure out quite why they wanted a celebrity so bad, but when the show was coming out, he went and promoted it. And he could get onto any talk show, he could get on anywhere, and they said, and I never saw him. I mean, I think he went to one tournament, and that's him with one of our stars. But here's how it started out. Here's me, I'm at the top of the call sheet. They said you got 1 week of work, it turned into 5. That's when I started shooting the show. It's me with EJ. He was the number one bowler of the world. And then I'm still at the top. And then all of a sudden, I'm the very last guy because HBO brought all their people on. So Born to Bowl came out on March 16th. The people they brought on, I don't know if you've seen the show McMillions. It's the guy that scammed.
Oh, yeah.
He figured out how to scam the game. And these two guys did it, and they came on the Born to Bowl. But they didn't come on until like after we'd already kind of shot the show. But what they did in post-production was genius. They made the show so much better. And I thought I'd get a tiny little credit in the very back, but I actually got a decent credit. We had a premiere party at my house. So I got 3 people on a card, it's pretty good. And that's it. Any questions? I almost made it. I told Bill I'd do it by noon. I was only 5 minutes off.